Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Walk in God's Purpose podcast. Today is a very special episode because I have with me a very special co-host. So, as you know, I am one of the hosts, Lorna. Uh, Monique is not with us this week, but I have someone else who has been a friend of mine for over 10 years. So tonight we have Roxanne, who is going to be co-hosting with us. Say hi, Roxanne.
Hi there. So happy to be here.
Oh, thank you so much for agreeing to be here. So tonight or today or whenever you're listening to this, we have a topic that is very sensitive. And before we get into it, I just want to make it clear that we are not passing any judgment here, and we do not want anyone to pass any judgment when they listen to this. This is something that is happening. This is something that is real. And this is something that a lot of Christian individuals are going through. And one of the hope here is after this episode to take away the stigma related to this issue. And again, no judgment. So tonight we are going to be looking at singleness after marriage. And we're going to be looking at singleness after marriage in the sense of getting a divorce, as well as in the sense of losing a spouse. So the truth is, even if you are currently married, majority of individuals who are married are going to be single again at some point in their life. Unless you and your spouse, not trying to be morbid here, but unless you and your spouse die at the exact same time, more than likely you're going to be single again at some point in your life. So we want to address that, and we do know that life happens. You go into a marriage with all the best intentions, but sometimes things happen that is really beyond your control, and you have individuals who end up getting a divorce and they become single again. So we want to look at that in a Christian viewpoint of how to go about navigating singleness after you have been married. Uh, so we're going to start off with my dear friend Roxanne, who was married. She has been on the journey of marriage, and now she is back in the journey of singlehood. And she's going to just kind of share with us what that is like being single after being married. So I have a couple of questions that I'm just going to ask her, and she is just going to answer as she feels comfortable. Right? That's okay, Roxanne?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay. So the first question that I have is, what is the main difference between being single before marriage and then being single after marriage?
Okay. All right. So that's a very interesting question. And being single before marriage, to me, I look at it as almost like entering the university for the first time or doing, getting to college for the first time. You're
Mm-hmm,
passionate, you are interested in what you are interested in the goal that you have ahead of you.
mm-hmm,
Though you're limited, there's a lot of innocence and curiosity and openness to a new pathway. So that is usually what it feels like, looks like singleness before marriage.
mm,
No judgment or anything like that. It feels free and just something that you're curious and want to be a part of. Um, on the other hand, singleness after marriage, it's a little bit different because I look at that now as the stage where you've entered the university, you're certified, you have the experience, whether it's
mm-hmm,
good, whether it's bad, whether it's ugly, you're more clear.
mm-hmm,
Um, you're more perhaps a lot more wisdom. There's a lot more understanding of the seriousness of the commitment of
mm,
a relationship or what marriage is. So I think both of them, it comes with like being very excited and curious. And
Mm-hmm.
on the other hand, it comes with just having all that wisdom and experience that you would have after a certification, after education, or something like that. So that's how I always view the
Mm.
difference. Yeah.
I actually do like that analogy because, as you know, I have never had the marriage journey, but as you were talking about what it's like before, that's actually how I kind of feel. Like you've never had it before, but you're like, what is this? What is this new exciting journey that I'm going to be going on? And you walk on the campus and be like, I've made it.
Yeah.
So I do
Yes.
get that sense and that analogy. So I've never
Mhm.
looked at it that way, but I get it, and I could see it as you were speaking. So I like that
Mhm.
analogy.
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Very.
so the second question that I have is, so how do you now navigate being single after marriage? Because I'm assuming it might be different, and maybe what you're looking for, like going back to your analogy, now that you have gotten your certification and you have more
Yeah.
wisdom, how do you now navigate with your experience and having this greater knowledge? How do you now navigate being single? Like, you're not as naive. Well, I'm assuming you said
Yes.
wisdom. You may not be as naive as
Right.
before.
Yes.
So how do you navigate the landmine of singleness now?
Okay. Okay, I like that. Very interesting. And it really led me to think a little bit more about, like what this journey is like. But I think
Mm-hmm.
navigating being single after marriage, I think it led me, and I know a lot of persons can attest to this. It's really a search for a deeper sense of purpose.
Mm,
And it's really stepping away from everything, the negative emotions, the process, and the things that you might have gone through, maybe through marriage, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything else. But it's actually it's gaining a stronger sense of purpose
mm,
and actually adjusting to a newer version of yourself, because you've never been on this road before. But it's really helping you to understand. I think this is a part of it, that you're actually now understanding your singlehood a little bit more
mm-hmm,
clearly.
mm-hmm,
So it comes with so much more, I think, wisdom and clarity, and and just a stronger sense of purpose. And I think this is the first part of it, and we have to be honest, the first part of it, because it's such an adjustment into this new singlehood. It does not feel that way. It doesn't feel like something good, and especially how you're viewed by the world. If
mm-hmm,
you've been through marriage and you're now coming out in singlehood, there are a lot of things that people do and say, and it doesn't feel good when you're being looked at in a particular way. But
mm-hmm,
you have to dig deep at this
mm-hmm.
stage. You have to face the emotions, and you have to just draw closer to your sense of purpose. But I can promise you, it's definitely not forever. Those negative feelings at the beginning, it's such
Mm-hmm,
an adjustment for many persons, and they might feel that way, that it's feeling horrible at the beginning stage of it
mm-hmm,
all, because you're now stepping out of being with maybe someone and partnering with someone for many years. So
mm-hmm.
it feels odd and strange, and probably out of place for some persons, just to kind of be on a journey by themselves. So it
Right.
comes with a lot of funny emotions, sometimes loneliness, fear, guilt, shame.
Mm.
But I can guarantee navigating, working through it, facing those emotions, and allowing yourself to grow, you will get into a deeper sense of purpose.
Okay, I like that. So I don't want to put you off your game, but I have a little follow-up question. As you were talking, this just came to me. So,
Right.
like, practically, there were things that we all look for when we're single. Has that changed? Like what you're looking for in a spouse, are you looking for the exact same thing, or after experiencing this, have you changed? Like, okay, this is what I'm looking for now in a partner now. Has that changed? Do you look for, are you looking for the exact same thing? Or are you like, are you more open to seeing red flags? Or are you like, how has that, having that experience really maybe change the landscape of how you date or look for a partner now?
Very interesting question. So, I think it really shapes it and it changes things when you've gone through an experience, such a strong, committed relationship and coming out. There's a lot of things that you would have learned.
Mm,
So you have a lot of wisdom in, the things that you're looking for, the things that you would take. It's always a learning experience. You can take the good
mhm,
things and you can learn something from even the negative things that might have occurred. So it's a real opportunity to really learn and to grow and to take something, especially if you're stepping out into looking forward to marriage again.
mhm,
So if you're stepping out into that, I think one of the things that happens, because you have such a stronger and deeper sense of purpose and understanding of yourself, you're more alert and you're
mhm,
now able to see things the way perhaps God wants you to see it.
mhm,
I think, it's a new season for many persons when they're at this place. And it's now a brand new opportunity for you to know, do things God's way as opposed to your way. And I think before the experience, sometimes the tendency is for you to
mhm,
do things your way. But I think growing out of marriage,
mhm.
and now again into singlehood, I think it helps you to do things and to see things God's way a lot more clearly.
I love that. I love that. Okay. So, another question I have is, what has been the hardest thing about being single after marriage?
Okay. So I think one of the hardest things I would say is just that initial adjustment period,
Mm-hmm.
because you're now almost like you've lost a physical arm. For persons,
Mm-hmm.
you're just trying to adjust to life again, and it
Mm-hmm.
feels very strange. It feels very, lonely. It feels isolating. You're wondering, how am I going to do this? What you're accustomed to be doing with someone else, you're now led to do that by yourself. So it can feel very scary at the initial stage, and it's a real adjustment period.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the hardest part of it is just getting used to that, getting used to the arm not being there or the leg, but
Mm-hmm.
then also recognizing that you're complete,
Yes.
learning that you're complete, in God, you're complete,
Mm-hmm.
irrespective of
Yes.
the fact that you're now single again. You're complete. And a lot of persons are scared because they feel alone and isolated being single.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when you get to that place where you could overcome that difficult part and you're now learning to love yourself again, you're now learning to recognize that, God has a purpose and you're in a new season and a new place in your life. I think that will help you to overcome the difficult part of that weird transition and having to adjust to something that you perhaps didn't want or that feels very uncomfortable for you.
I love that you said you're complete because I
Yes.
think the society tries to make you think that if you're single that you're not complete, but you're absolutely correct.
Yes.
You are complete because God
Mhm.
created you completely.
Yes,
Like when he
absolutely.
created you, he created a complete human being.
Oh, yes.
So regardless of one's relationship status, marital status, you are a complete individual. And we need to internalize that. So we need to take that and own that and not let society dictate or tell us that we or make us feel like we're incomplete if
Yes.
you don't have this. So I like that you say that, just to reinforce and to let people know that you are complete. Yes, it is devastating. And yes, it feels as if you have lost a part of you, but in the grand scheme of things, you are actually complete because God created you completely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. Absolutely.
So I kind of want to end on, I don't know if this is a high note, but what has been the best thing about being single, being single after being married?
Okay. Yes, I love that one. Definitely a strong note. Um, I think the best thing about being single after being married is you're now in a brand new season
Mm,
of your life. And brand new means you're able to see things a lot more clearly in God's way, in God's how God intended things to be. And
mm.
I think it helps us to have that stronger sense of purpose that we didn't have before. So I think the best thing, it's like a brand new opportunity for a brand new season.
Oh, I like that.
Yes,
I
yes,
like that.
yes.
Brand new opportunity. So instead of looking at it from a deficit standpoint, look at it from a
Mhm.
strength-based standpoint. Now you have an opportunity to
Yes,
do things, maybe like we're all human. And as I said, we're not passing any judgment, but
yes.
let's be honest, we're humans and we're not perfect. So there might be things that we have done that we're like, I probably could have done this a little different. And now is the opportunity to be like, okay, let's try to do this the best that I can do it.
Yes, yes, certainly. And definitely God's way.
Yes. Well, thanks you, Roxanne. Don't go anywhere. Just stick around.
Yes, okay.
But like at the beginning of the episode, I said that I also wanted to talk about singleness after the death of a spouse. So we have heard the experience after divorce. And of course, I personally don't have this experience, but I did do some research online and saw or found what other persons who have experienced this themselves, what they say, and as well as spoken to some individuals. Uh, so I think one of the main things that, and I don't know, there might be some aspect of this with being single after a divorce, but one of the main things that came out when I did my research and spoke with individuals about singleness after the death of the spouse, the number one thing that kind of came out was guilt over forming a new relationship. And it talks about how a lot of individuals who have lost their spouse feel as if they start a new relationship that they're being disloyal or unfaithful, and if they form any new attachment or enjoy the company of anyone else, it gives them a sense of guilt, uh, and they have to really get over that and recognize that it is okay to move on and have fun again after a while. Of course, we're not going to say don't grieve. We'll never say that, but it is okay to at some point to want to move on. And it is okay at some point when you find yourself being okay wanting to form that relationship. But one of the more difficult things that I came across was the feeling of guilt starting a new relationship. And I assume that that could probably be some aspect, even though, because I've heard people said it before, that sometimes a divorce feels like the death of a
Yeah.
spouse is, but they're still there. But the grief is there. There's this grief that is felt, even though the person is still alive. But it's almost as if you're grieving the death of the marriage as well. So I don't know if this is something that you have experienced or you know of anyone experiencing that. Even though, like I said, it's two different things, but some aspect of it might feel like a debt. Am I reaching, Roxanne, or is that something that you say some individuals who experience divorce might actually feel as well? Hello? Did I lose you?
Okay, I'm back. I think there was a little glitch there, but yes, yes,
Technology, that's okay.
yes, yes, Lorna. So certainly, people do experience that kind of a grief where, um, especially with divorce, it's a similar grieving process. You're grieving the loss of a relationship. A relationship has died, and so you're grieving the loss of that. So you do go through the whole process of grief, and just like a person who maybe physically lost that individual or partner in their life. So I do understand that and can relate. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. And one of the reasons why I asked, I was doing a grief support group
Yes.
for my church. And of course, when I announced that I'm doing this grief support group, it was in my mind, we are preparing it, and the curriculum are for those who have lost a spouse, or not a spouse, just anyone. Grief
Yes.
could be a parent, aunt, friend. But someone emailed me and asked if they could come to the grief support group because they are going through a divorce, but they were grieving. So they wanted to know if it would if it was okay for them to attend the grief support group. And that really opened my mind to see like, okay, that is, and of course we're
Yes.
not going to equate it to be completely like it because we know it is different, and we're not minimizing those who have actually lost a spouse. But the feelings can be similar, and the same techniques and coping skills that is used to help some individuals get over the grief of losing a loved one can be applied to getting over losing a spouse through divorce. So that is why I just wanted to kind of mention it, because I have heard a lot of people say that it is kind of like grieving, but again, we don't want to minimize those who have actually lost someone
Yes.
via death. But there are some similarities. Just wanted
Mhm.
to point that out. Uh,
Yes.
and along with those who are trying to navigate being single again after losing the spouse, another big issue that I found was the timeline. Like, when is it okay to date again? When it is okay to get remarried? And it talks about how once someone is ready to date again, that family members and friends should avoid having any judgment because everyone is different, and someone might be ready quicker than someone else, but that does not
Yes.
mean that one is right and one is wrong. As long as the person adequately grieve the person, and that is going to be different for each person. So for one person, they might be ready in a year, another person might be ready in 5 years. And that doesn't make one right and one wrong, as long as they have both truly grieved and I've gotten over, well, not gotten over, you never get over it, but I've gotten to a place where you are comfortable
Yes. Yes.
in a new relationship. So the key is not the length of time, but the key is adequately grieving the person and truly processing that, and then being able to really form a new relationship, because they talk about if you are still grieving and you jump into a relationship,
Yes.
that can be disastrous.
Oh, yes. You have to
And
be ready.
you have to be ready. And the
Yes.
sad truth is, we are human beings, we are made to be social. God created us that way. So what happens is if people are not careful, they tend to start a new relationship because we crave affection, we crave
Right.
company, we crave
Yes.
all of that. And
Yes.
when you
Yes.
lose a spouse, you want that back. So we have
Yes.
to be careful to not rush into that before we have adequately processed what has happened.
Yes. Yes.
So that is very important. And the last thing that it talks about as it relates to being single after losing your spouse is we just talk about making sure that you have processed everything and that you are ready because it can be disastrous if you start something without truly processing your grief. But if you have children, you also have to remember that they're going through grief and they should be taken into consideration as well before you get into a new relationship, especially if you have younger children. And it talks about how it is important to let them know that no one is going to replace the parent that they have lost if
Yes.
you do decide to get into a relationship. But the bottom line, basically, it is saying that make sure that not that you're going to put your life on hold, but just make sure that your child or your children is in a place where they are open, where where you starting a new relationship won't be too devastating for them because they too have to process and they may have a different timeline than you. So and the last thing I want to mention is that Paul in 1 Timothy 5:14 actually counsel younger widows to remarry. So, and I should have said this at the top, not that there's anything about being a widow and being single after marriage when you are older, but this for me was more so for younger individuals who have lost a spouse or younger individuals who have gotten a divorce. Not that I'm saying someone in their 80s can find someone. I've seen it, but
Yes.
this
It's happening.
it happens. But for me, this is more so for those who are actually, still in the prime of their lives. I hope the older folks don't cancel me and say, I'm in my prime at 90. You might be an outlier, but for the most part, those who are in the prime of they're still like middle adulthood
Yes.
and,
Yes.
and experiencing this now. So these are really the persons we are targeting with this episode, the younger individuals who are still young, middle adulthood, still, in the prime of their lives, uh, having to navigate single because I can just imagine that navigating single at 80, 85, and 70 is different from navigating single at being 40, 45, 50
Oh, yes.
when you're
Yes.
still in your prime.
Yes.
So that is what I have on singleness. Do you have any final words for our listeners, Roxanne, that you'd like to share?
No, I think we did
We've
discuss
covered
quite
everything.
a sum. We've covered, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, that is it for this week. Tune in next week. Monique should be back. I know you guys probably missed her, but I want to thank you so much, Roxanne, for being a part of this episode. I truly appreciate it. And I know a lot of individuals are going through what you have gone through, and to see you on the other end healed, uh, it's such a beautiful thing. And I want that for everyone else who is probably just starting that journey. So I appreciate you coming as an example to show that you can get through this and to be
Pleasure.
a light and to be encouraging. So I appreciate you for that. And I know you have blessed a lot of people by being here. So
You're
thank
most welcome. My pleasure. My pleasure.
you. Okay.